guys, it's Mario from WATL, and today I'm reacting to axe throwing clips on TV, TV shows, and movies in general.
Yeah. I don't remember this episode. Yeah, I remember watching this episode actually, and it actually is pretty well done and is relatively realistic. When Ragnar actually throws the axe, the distance between where he was and the other one is, and that's the tricky thing about axe throwing that people don't realize, but when I noticed this when I watch it on TV is that distance roughly 12 feet, or is it 14 feet or 16 feet? Ragnar's axe handle is extremely long, so he would have had to have been further back. So that person probably should have been about maybe 15 feet or so, 16 feet maybe away. I don't know how realistic it would be for it to stick in the person because they have so much armor on top of it. And the tomahawk, especially for back then, those things were light. They're not as heavy as the axes that we use today for what I'll call urban axe throwing. I don't know if it really had that weight to really kind of penetrate the chest like that. It might break the sternum, but is it enough to stick on the chest? I don't know, probably not. But the rest of the techniques, I mean, there's nothing to say about that other than it's badass. His technique was honestly on point. The two-arm handed technique, the way he threw it was honestly it was damn awesome.
Then it seems the only thing.
Shut your mouth!
Enough!
This has nothing to do with you!
What's the matter, Ivar? You can't take it.
Ivar, do not listen to him.
No, I guess it must be hard for you now that your mummy's dead. Knowing she's the only one who ever really loved you.
Ivar. Ivar!
I haven't seen this episode, so this is a total spoiler for me. That was a total spoiler. I haven't actually seen this episode. I think Netflix only goes to season 3. But that's very realistic. It looks like the distance of the table was probably, I would say, about 10 feet. The handle's a bit shorter. Ivar was sitting and he went sideways. And even the way the axe landed sideways, that looked real. And if the person did not have any, if they're just wearing a t-shirt and clothes and that axe is sharp enough, it makes sense that it would penetrate the shirt and the skin. So that is totally real. That looked very well done. Technique was honestly on point.
To the right!
That's pretty legit. And I was gonna say, I was like, there's no way he's gonna be able to aim so close and be able to get that kind of aim. But he had a small tomahawk, it's pretty close, and the guy's head was far enough away where it was kind of from a safe distance. That I would say is totally legit. Awful technique, but it worked. He did a total hammer sidearm. Again, with axe throwing, you don't have to throw it that hard. You don't have to sidearm it. And if you throw it kind of like a baseball, that's where you have a huge variance of being able to hit the target. He was able to hit it, but the distance, the tomahawk, everything, it checks out. Just the technique wasn't. I can't even watch this.
Well, Justin, there is a ding on this blade right here where my finger is.
I don't even know where to start. Throwing technique was awful. He blamed it on the axe, on the curve. You can throw curved axes very well and control them. There's a lot of throwers actually out there that don't use the straight handle. They actually like the curve. The reason it went downward was because he held on to it for too long and he was actually aiming for the floor. And he blamed it on the poor guy in the handle. I'm surprised they even tested it as a throwing axe. For today, it really has no purpose, it has no use, it's not really an axe throwing axe. And the reality is, whether there's a bit of a nick or not, it doesn't really matter. I mean, they were using end grain. End grain is the easiest thing in the world to stick in. Not impressed by the technique, not impressed by the axes, not impressed by the person blaming it on the poor guy's curve on the handle, and I think that's what I find most hilarious.
There was always this animation of Kratos throwing the axe that seemed like it would be cool, but it'd be like, well, he's gonna throw his weapon away. Like, what use is that gonna be? It's just gonna be gone. You're gonna have to go pick it up. Until, you know, one of our designers, Vincent Napoli, came up with the idea, well, what if he called it back? So we prototyped that. We had him throw the axe out, you know, call it back, and immediately
I wish.
worked very well with the camera perspective, how to deal with enemies, pinpointing targets on them, tripping them again, aiming for the leg. So all the ideas kind of started to spearhead themselves right after that decision was made.
All right, can you cue the sheesh sound? You know that? The axe is badass, and it looks awesome, and it's perfect for his costume, his outfit. This is the God of War, right? You know, he's holding it like it weighs like a feather to him. Realistically, you know, can you and I do it? No. Can a bodybuilder do it? Maybe. Will it blow your rotator cuff? Yes. But is he the God of War? Yes. And so he's able to do that. Would I love to have an axe that boomerangs back at me? Yes and no. I think it'd be kind of cool, but I'd love to kind of duck out of the way if it did. Really cool, huge axe. The curve is kind of weird. It's not really well suited to be a throwing axe, especially for it being that big, but hey man, he's the God of War. You can't really say more than that.
I'm gonna staple this to the wall and see if that helps. Perfect. Oh, close, but no cigar. Just one, I just want one.
Oh, he
That
broke it
wasn't it.
already.
Need some motivation, Clifton. I'm gonna staple this to the wall and see if that helps. Okay, be right back. Perfect. I feel good about this. Feel really good about this. I've got an axe to grind, specifically with Hugh Jackman.
Far away from the wall are you?
He's just
So right
asking him
now, I'm probably, I don't know, 15 feet?
Try to get maybe 12 feet.
All right, I'm gonna go forward a little bit. Yes!
The first thing that they should have started with was, here's an axe, throw it from 12 feet. I think, I can't remember how many feet he said he was throwing from, 16 or something like that, but that's why his handle broke so easily. It was over-rotating. Axes, they're meant to be thrown from 12 feet. Like that is the throwing distance for a single rotation. It does it by itself. His axe throwing technique is actually pretty good. For someone who's, you know, not thrown an axe before, he had it right over his head. The only thing that Ryan did wrong is he had his elbow out and then he swung it in, but his technique was good. All he really needed to do was just to adjust the step forward. Overall, honestly, for someone who's just starting out, I mean, that's 10 out of 10. It's great work.
But today, I'm gonna redeem myself through axe throwing.
Are we? We're seriously doing this.
So
I'm going red, and I'm confident, man.
You going for this bullseye?
This is bullseye.
Why don't you go for 10?
I'm not confident enough. I'm actually going to hit the bullseye. I feel like I'll hit somewhere close and then, you know, get 4 or 2. Here we go.
Oh, it's stuck
Oh, he's
on
stuck.
4. How did that feel?
He did
I
it.
feel like a man.
All right, I'm going out there. Nobody throw any axes at me for retribution. You've kind of blocked my ability to get to the red bullseye, which I agree is more extremely sour. I got to go for red, and I'm going for the gusto. I'm going for 6 red.
How do I? This is not the time for that question.
Here we go.
Don't feel safe.
Clear. Oh, look at that. We
Just stuck
tied.
it.
Here we go. We're both in 4.
Those targets are super cool. Love the bright colors. Obviously, it's not sustainable for any facility to have those bright colors. Their technique is actually what we teach a lot in our facilities is, you know, especially people who may not have the strength, we say use 2 hands and you have to hold it at the bottom. And so for people who are kind of starting out and coming into facilities, that technique is actually 10 out of 10. They did really well. They had the right distance from where to throw from. They did it nicely over their head and then they swung it forward and released forward. Their aim was actually really good considering. Obviously, you know, once you start getting into the higher end of the sport, you want to take those axes and you're flicking them and it's almost like you're throwing a dart. These guys, because they're just starting out, that technique is actually solid. I would honestly give that a 10 out of 10 for someone who's just starting.
It wasn't straight, it was turning in the air, huh?
Oh, stuck one.
Closer. Look at that, chat. We are getting closer and closer. Just remember that. If you didn't bet on me, you're gonna regret it.
Yeah. No, I'm scared. What if I never get it? What if I never get it?
It's okay, at least I have talent.
Shut up, I can do it. I can do it.
Oh, they're throwing from far away.
So bang and straight. Throwing for content.
The way to fix that throw, the girl in the green outfit, she is an example where you have a customer coming in and they have a kind of a strength requirement. She's throwing it like this, but she's almost like pushing it and she's not fully extending her arm. So she's not getting that full force where if anything, she should be chopping it down like a tree if she wants to do it one hand. But what I actually would have done is I would have an axe that she can throw two hand over her head and get her to move closer. The thing that's nice about some of the axes that we have, like the Commander and stuff like that, is you can actually toss it super light. My 6-year-old and my 8-year-old can stick that axe very easily. The other girl who actually wasn't getting it and wasn't sticking it in, she actually had a great technique. All she had to do is really take a step forward. So technique-wise, the girl who was consistently missing was actually better. And it really just comes down to having the right equipment and having the right distance. It's that quick, but it's pretty cringeworthy to watch.
Jennifer, you were telling me how recently you tried axe throwing for the first time. You challenged me to a little competition, and I don't know why, but I said yes. So we're going to take turns. It's totally fine. Jennifer, you go. Gosh.
Hey, Jimmy, I just remembered something. No!
Oh, wow. That's funny. I think he knew what he was doing. The first one, I think he purposely kind of threw it over and that was part of his skit, the way he was aiming. But the second one, you could tell he got low and then he switched to a one-handed technique and he had the right distance. The thing with that axe is it's got such a long handle that when Jennifer Lawrence threw her first axe, she was too close. And because she was too close, it didn't rotate enough and it bounced off handle first. And that's what you got to be careful of with these kind of bigger axes. But yeah, what a heck of a shot from Jimmy Fallon. He was aiming for it. He got low, he honed in on his technique, but 10 out of 10, I mean, both of them had great techniques. I think Jennifer Lawrence, at least in the initial one, she was just gripping it a bit wide. You want to put both hands closer to the bottom of the handle so then it rotates nicely. Otherwise, if you split it, you're kind of forcing that rotation yourself. It won't rotate naturally, and that's all you need the axe to do. Yeah, good throwing techniques.
Now, Serena, you have one of the best tennis serves on the planet, but I've been wondering, does that also make you an expert axe thrower?
You slick son of a bitch! Oh!
He landed flat.
Oh, yeah, really, right.
Look how strong she is. Just flicking it like it's nothing. You can just tell by the way she was holding her axe and moving it with her wrist motion how powerful her wrists and her hands are from the tennis. I struggle myself to be able to move an axe so freely, and that was a big axe that she was holding. And her technique wasn't great. She tried to, it's almost like she was trying to serve a tennis ball and throw it overhand, kind of like how she would hit a serve. I think the only problem, the only reason it didn't stick is she needed to step maybe a foot or two back for it to fully rotate. If she released it kind of dead on, right in front of her at eye level, it would have stuck no problem. I think she might have held back a little bit. Yeah, overall, I mean, her technique wasn't bad for a starter.
Let the axe do the work, right? You got that. So now come up to this mark, because it's all just about the rotation of it.
Okay.
Okay?
Wow.
Okay.
You got this.
Yes, I got it.
You got it. Oh! That was... You threw harder. You threw harder. Just let the...
Don't throw it hard?
No, because just let the weight go.
Oh.
Nice.
You should have told me that.
You got
He's
it.
good.
I'm putting all my weight into it.
Back and release.
Uh-huh.
Oh. Okay, step right here.
Nice.
Okay. This is very hard. All right, let's just do you. Okay. All right.
Where we at?
We're good.
Is that double? Wow. So he knows what he's talking about. Like for someone who doesn't work at a facility, doesn't do it for a living, he knows what he's talking about. He was trying to get her to adjust her rotation. He was telling her, you know, you're over-rotating, step forward. You know, that time you threw it harder, you know, lighten up, just let the axe do the work, step forward. And he kept adjusting it. Even when he was doing his competition and throwing it, his technique, while it wasn't super accurate, and yet the bullseyes are huge and they're blown up and the target's big, his technique wasn't great, but I think he's had so much muscle memory that he's able to kind of get away with doing the baseball arm throws. Even though he was way too far back, he adjusted being able to stick the axe by actually throwing it harder, and you can do that. Overall, his technique is not bad. He knows what he's doing. I would say maybe 7 out of 10 on the technique, but 10 out of 10 on the teaching.
Just like that.
Woo! 2 bulls.
That's cold.
That's actually really impressive.
Cold right there. I ain't never seen that.
Feeling a little bit close to the target. I'm gonna go back here.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
You going back there, I'm going back here.
Nice.
I got another axe here.
Okay.
This dude's just such a goof.
You can.
He's hilarious.
Okay, yeah.
You wanna do it right after this?
Do your thing. What you getting ready to do with 3 of them, though?
Wow. I've known Edgington for years now. Some of you may have seen him on ESPN. He's the 2018 world champion, and he did it with an Estwing. And not only is he a phenomenal thrower, he has adapted extremely well over the years and maintained that same level of competitiveness and integrity in the sport. Edgington is one of the few people that I've actually ever seen in my life being able to juggle 3 axes like that and then still be able to kind of throw one. It's super hard, super impressive. Looks like he's getting back into things because his scores, even with the new rules, the new bullseyes, the new kill shots, his scores are extremely high and he's extremely competitive. Edgington's solid 10 out of 10. All of his trick shots, underhand, you know, double. He's one of the first people, I call him kind of the OG of axe throwing because he's one of the first people that actually started trick shots. Really well known in the industry, definitely a great dude, and yeah, it's awesome to see him make it on TV. Thanks again for watching, guys. I appreciate it. If you haven't already, subscribe online on our website at worldaxethrowingleague.com. Stay up to date with any new product releases, any sort of tournaments that are coming up. Everything related to axe throwing, worldaxethrowingleague.com. Thanks for watching.